folks, that is the end of the designated survivor vice presidential debate. Resuming power report coverage here with Bam and C's. Make sure to unmute themselves. We're going to do a little bit of a post-debate coverage on this. So yeah, it was much less infighting than there was from the first one. It was a big snore, as Bam, you're alluding to right now. There are the husband and wives of Mike Pence and Kamala Harris there talking as we're wrapping this up right now. No, it was really interesting. It was a much less infighting and much less like back and forth fighting as it was with the Dementia-thon as we recovered there. Not a lot of fighting back and forth, but you did definitely get a series of a little bit of interruption here and there. But overall, I would say it was the most refreshingly, not going to say refreshing because I hate every single aspect of this election cycle, but it was a very normal kind of debate. Like, I almost felt like it was 2012 again. Like, it was two people arguing things in a very debate style kind of format. I mean, Mike Pence was outright lying while Kamala Harris was trying to pretend that she both wasn't as left leaning as she really is, while also claiming to be more harder right than the Democratic Party even wants her to be, specifically saying that she's going to that Joe Biden won't remove fracking, continually saying that the Green New Deal is ridiculous, kind of conceding to Mike Pence's talking points. And then Mike Pence has that ability to kind of really package Trump's mania and hysteria in a way that sounds like regular politician speak. So it's really easy to kind of look over that, I think, in a way. So it's really insidious. You can hear Mike Pence, you almost hear like a reasonable politician or a reasonable person. Whereas when you listen to Donald Trump say literally the exact same things and make the exact same kind of lies, it is like pretty kind of clear and apparent that he is being a psychopath. But those are my initial thoughts. Those are my initial kind of reactions. Gonna be talking a little bit about this just to wrap things up, and we'll be responding to some chats in Twitch and YouTube, so it should be fun. But Bam, what are you thinking as we just kind of are wrapping this up here?
Yeah, it wasn't really that much going on. I enjoyed Kamala's side eye and smirks. Yeah, you're not gonna get very many surprises from Pence. He's just like Donald Trump puppet. I feel like he said better stuff when he debated last time, when it was like him and Tim Kaine. Um,
Word.
yeah, like I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of there wasn't much that stood out for me. Like, no, yeah,
Cesar, what about you?
I mean, I think that you kind of summarized it best. It's all Pence really does is he just serves as a live human retweet machine for Donald Trump. And the thing is I don't even know how many points that Pence makes are actually his. It just seems like he echoes things in a calmer fashion that the Trump administration kind of adheres to. But just the only difference I think in this debate, it's like I think it's really funny. I think when if I'm gonna react to how I think people feel, I think that what comes to Kamala, it's like I think everybody was like, okay, that's enough. When you started deep diving into her DA work and how she was big implementing on body cams on officers, like okay, yeah, all right, cool. You get a high five for that. We love that. Thank you so much. But when it came to Pence, it's like okay, man, but like you don't get to really question her. What were you doing this whole time? Like she actually was like working in the government, like for real, for real. Like you were a governor of Indiana, but like what have you really been doing though? So I thought she won a lot in terms of like her responses were directly to the people. She was actually answering questions when questions were answered, and Pence was, kind of. I think he was even slower than the last debate. It almost seemed like it took him forever to get to these points because he was like thinking about them as he was responding and then or he was deflecting off the answer. So at the very end, it looks like he's getting cut off rather than him getting to actually answer the question. Like, oh, let me just talk about this last one and spend the last 30 seconds actually answering it. Oh no, I got cut off. Let me talk over. Like it seemed like that was kind of his counter strategy the whole time to the debate. So it was like you said, it seemed like a very traditional style of debate. Like they both had their own strategies, and that's the one he took, and she had her own as well too.
No, yeah, for real. Like it felt like that entire time, Mike Pence, anytime he was trying to answer a question, would always go like, "No, no, I have to respond to that thing that was said one or two or three sentences ago." And it's a tactic that you can play because it's three people talking. It's Mike Pence, Kamala Harris, and the debate moderator. I'm sorry, I forgot her name, but I know she's from USA Today. But you have those three. And so if Mike Pence tries to act like, oh, I'm not getting the appropriate amount of time to answer my questions, which is, happens in debates. There's always that little wiggle room that happens. But in this case, for sure, it definitely felt like Mike Pence was doing the thing Joe Biden used to do during the Democratic primaries, where he would like almost simp for the time clock as far as like what things would go. He would try to like work around that clock itself, and he would be like, "Oh no, I think I've run out of time, so I can't do anything else right here." Or no, I actually I didn't get enough time to talk right here, so I'm going to take that time right now. And it's yeah, I don't know, in these debates, you just don't want to look like you're playing defense too much. And I think Mike Pence looked like he was playing a lot of defense. But to be fair, maybe just because my standards have been lowered so much by watching Donald Trump just completely flail through these debates. But even on the defense, Mike Pence was able to kind of hold his own. Like if you didn't understand that he was talking complete bullshit the whole time, it was almost agreeable.
Yeah, I think with Mike Pence, like the difference between him and Trump is like Mike Pence is just a staunch conservative and he has like those ideals and he's not wiggling or trying to pretend to be kind of left or whatever or pretend to be this and that. And Trump is trying to play to every single thing he can. So there's like a bit of a difference there, but that also makes Mike Pence very boring.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with Bam. I think that the biggest thing for me is to give Pence some credit. The best thing he did is never change his tone. That was the best thing he did the whole debate because to
Mm.
me it seemed like Kamala was like I like almost like wishing that he would take the approach that Trump did. Like, oh, I would love this to go like that way because she's really good at like actually answering, like stating, like talking to the camera, like making the faces, the side eyes. Bam kind of was mentioning, and it looked like it was like, oh, like I wish he would kind of like blow up like Trump did, and he didn't. He stayed monotone, and that's kind of his biggest win is that okay, like she may go up a little bit in level because she's passionate about certain things, but I'm just gonna stay very, very neutral on this and very even keeled, whether it's addressing Trump's comments about McCain or talking about Iran 4 questions later or talking about abortion. I'm going to stay at this tone regardless of where we're at.
No, yeah, it was a much kind of again, there's so many contrasts between Donald Trump and Joe Biden debating, which is dementia-thon. It's kind of a mess. They're yelling over each other. Versus both Kamala Harris and Mike Pence have to take the stance of being the cool, calm, and collected kind of angle um, to the madness that is happening kind of above the ticket for both of them. But yeah, I think it's kind of ridiculous. It's a little bit weird to kind of see them both in these positions, considering how much they truly like where they really stand. Like it's funny because we all know that the stuff happening with the Supreme Court, like the Democrats don't want to show their hand here. It's very clear that court packing is something that they want to at least leave up to possibility, at least leave up to being an option, because I mean, Kamala Harris was kind of leading into it. The conservatives are going to read that as a dodge, but Kamala Harris was saying that, look, the Republicans have used the power that they have to stack the judicial system in their favor over the past 4 years. Trump is not just a new thing for that. This is kind of what they've been doing. So if we're opening up the debate to acting within the rules that exist to expand the judiciary in your favor. I mean, court packing is a loophole that exists and no one's wanted to touch it because you can do it if you want to. But it is smart for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to at least like hold their cards to their chest on this because it would, if it were confirmed, even though Republicans already know this, if it were confirmed, it would send the conservatives into a tizzy and it might actually cause them to win back a couple of votes they might be close to getting.
Yeah, like I think FDR threatened to expand the court at one time, but yeah, I mean it's a good political strategy, and I think part of them doing that is maybe trying to see like, hey, like we're leaving this on the table, so you guys might not try to go forward with this whatever the coronavirus spreader lady confirmation.
Word. Yeah. I'm looking at chats right now. Mostly people are agreeing with me, so we love to see that. But no. Generally, the consensus is that the debate was pretty chill, is what I'm seeing. So that seems to be kind of from there. Um, Apparently, the fly that was the favorite fourth member of the debate panel was there really quickly, but left near the end. So there was that. Serge says the fly was more entertaining than Pence's answers, and I hella agree to that. I think we can all agree that the fly was the needed shot of adrenaline. It was the steroid to Donald Trump's lungs that we really need to continue watching that debate.
And even like saying with Pence, like he's just like a staunch conservative. Kamala Harris is a staunch centrist. Like we kind of know what we're getting with her, just like we know with what we're getting with Pence. Like I have no illusions like she's gonna be like coming out on this like progressive. Oh, what was the thing that Pence was saying about her? Like some study said she's the most liberal of the Senate. I'm like,
Yeah, it was a Newsweek thing, and sometimes these like polls come out, and I remember this is kind of being used in the primary. In fact, I think maybe some Kamala surrogates were using this in Kamala's favor, but they were saying, yeah, based on voting record, Kamala Harris is actually more liberal than Bernie Sanders. Which, like, if you have anything beyond an elementary understanding and reading of politics, you're gonna start laughing out loud just at the even thought that Kamala Harris is like anywhere to the left of Bernie Sanders. It's completely ridiculous. We had a whole primary about that. It's not a laughable thing. But it's one of those like talking point statements that fits if you're like not very politically apt or very politically in tune with things, which of course is Mike Pence's audience. If you're going to even be believing what Mike Pence says, they're going to be open up to it to begin with. No, but Kamala Harris, that's the odd thing that we have here when we as like people on the left are talking about the Kamala Harris sort of like political project. It's that truthfully she is not far to the left. In some ways, like she might be movable, she might be convincible, but the things that have really excited the left over the past year in 2020, especially, a sharpening of our foreign policy that is completely out of control. Kamala Harris seems to be more the center of that, continuing our foreign policy kind of like empire that we have. Going back to the trade regime of the Obama administration, which, I mean, you'll say what you want about the Trump administration, but the people in the middle of the country like the trade regime under the Trump administration to at least some extent because of the protectionism it's providing for their industries that don't need to be protected, but that's a different economic sort of like matter. Um, the main thing I think is clear, because there's a lot of jargon in that, is just the climate change issue. Because Kamala Harris in that debate very clearly was also stating that she's not looking to rock the boat. Joe Biden's not going to get rid of fracking, even though fracking is a very bad thing that we should be getting rid of. And Kamala Harris is not for the Green New Deal. She's for Joe Biden's green thing, which is still involves $2 trillion in spending, which is a lot to conservatives who pretend to care about the deficit but don't when Trump is giving tax cuts to the rich that allow for stock buybacks. But this is still a small amount of money, that $2 trillion Joe Biden is talking about, compared to the real need climate change has. I think the real good thing about this debate, sorry to wrap up, but it's just a lot in my head specifically about the climate change thing, because we usually don't have debates where they talk about climate change that much. So it's good they're having it. But the main sort of idea around this is that Pence and the GOP are trying to create this sort of precedent that the Green New Deal is bad. And honestly, all the architects of the Green New Deal, from like Alexandra Rojas, from Justice Democrats to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez herself, wanted this exact fight to happen. They wanted this fight of saying, oh, so are you going to now say that the Green New Deal is bad? Okay, you've done a lot of stuff with the green, but let's talk about where the like design of this policy comes from. This comes from the New Deal, a policy that was so popular that the president who put it in place was reelected 4 times. Dude was dying. He was about to die in office, and the Americans still reelected him. They had to put in term limits because of this man, because the New Deal was so damn popular. I mean, yes, you had World War II and all these other conflating factors, and the New Deal was not the perfect thing. There were a lot of gaps in it. There were a lot of racist like issues in it. There are a lot of things that didn't do very well. But the fact of the matter is, the Green Deal is, I mean, sorry, the New Deal that was passed in the 30s and 40s and all the different programs that came from that is the center for a lot of the U.S. government project that exists today. The idea that we have a social safety net, the idea that we have government programs that also tend to employ people of color, the idea that we have this infrastructure for government that's supposed to do things. It exists. It exists as an anathema to the entire Republican project that you need less government, that you need to cut all these things. So this is the fight. This is the existential fight that I think broadly speaking, the left and the right can have here over what is the role of government and does more government help. And I think it's a nuanced argument because I think it depends on who is in the power of government, who's controlling the levers of power, as to where that makes a difference. But I just think that if my overall sort of summary of this is that this is the argument, like this is the chess position that the people who crafted the Green New Deal wanted to be in. They wanted to have a fight over whether the idea of a New Deal is good and popular among like the general sort of like public and voting class. But it seems like because of the way Kamala Harris is positioned as a centrist, she's not going to have these debates very open and very in the public as much as maybe see Bernie Sanders was or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would, because there's still this belief that the Green New Deal is too radical and too crazy.
Well, I'm gonna just say this really quick, so you can go ahead. Like, I don't even think that space is the place to be even debating the Green New Deal. Like, all Pence is gonna say is $2 trillion, and they're getting rid of all the good jobs. Like, that's all he's gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be that aspect to it, and that's the defense to it. But I mean, Kamala Harris comes from California, where the fires have ravaged the state, and so yeah, that's a deeply blue state. You're not going to win any people over. But the thing about climate change is, yeah, on the one hand, to your point, Bam, immediately rhetorically, it's going to be a difficult argument to make. But climate change is hitting red states. It's going to continue hitting red states. And this sort of, the Republicans have even had to bend from climate change is some Al Gore created hoax to, yeah, of course, there's some man made climate change that's real. That's why I said it was your favorite question, Bam. Because Republicans are showing in these debates, they are at least willing to concede to that point. But it's the smallest amount of concession because when it comes to like, okay, well, what are you going to do with it? It's like talking to Democrats in 2006. They'll admit that climate change is happening and that's caused by man, but their solutions are tax credits and cap and trade and things like that. Like the Republicans are successfully moving the cart of politics again because the Democrats, the idea of the far left position or what's being painted as the far left position is actually the center right position. So that's why I think the losing is happening.
Hey guys, y'all went off. Geez, I think for me one of the big telling points was I think just in general. I mean, it's really funny that the Trump administration does an excellent job of trying to tell everybody what they've done that's amazing, yet there's not really a lot of factual evidence supporting some of the stuff they claim, like, oh, you gave us this broken economy and we fixed it, and then like all these wild accusations to throw out and this and everything's better than ever, yet everybody that's even worked in all sectors of the field from the tariffs that he placed and I thought that one of my favorite questions was, what is the President Trump's stance with China? Is it an enemy? Is it are they friends? Or are we rivals? What is it? I mean, Pence couldn't even answer the question. I mean, Pence's best answer to that was basically saying that, oh, well, we're blaming them for coronavirus, and we found out in February. Your own campaign has been inconsistent from the beginning of letting Americans know when you found out about coronavirus, from coronavirus legitimacy, and I've said this 15 times I've said this even on a damn soccer podcast. You were the people saying that the coronavirus is a Democratic hoax. Your own administration was saying that this is a Democratic hoax, and here's your leader who's gasping for air outside. I thought this was a Democratic hoax, homie. So you have inconsistencies in your own administration. The simple fact you want the American people, which 200K are 6 feet under because of now, you 200K of them, you want them to back you on your own inconsistencies that you don't address. You don't you they don't they pretend these things never happened. Instead of addressing answers, they convolute them, regurgitate them, and give you something else, or go back onto an attacking point. And I think it's evident to see that I think the Trump Biden debate was more obvious and more kind of an aggressive viewpoint of everybody kind of seeing what we saw. Okay, 4 years ago, this approach was like understandable. Like everybody was frustrated, I guess. And okay, here comes this loud, screaming reality show in debt business guy. Whoa, this ought to be fun. To now, it's we. You had 4 years. What did you really do though? Like, what did you really do? And I think screaming at people and then Pence coming in talking monotone the same points, it just doesn't resonate the same as it did for a nation that was frustrated for different reasons 4 years ago. The frustrations now are a majority of the result of your own administration. So I think their approach, at least Trump's approach, was really bad. And Pence's didn't really like absolve that. I think Pence's approach really kind of just gave us like, I mean, you're just like a talking point. And even sometimes with Kamala, I even felt the same way about Kamala. Like, you, of course, I know you're vice president. You're referencing a lot of things, but I don't really like, oh, I think Biden agrees with me. I think I stand for Joe Biden, or me and Joe Biden this. Like, okay, but like on the real, you were a DA in California for a long time. Like, we know you. Like, we know you, and you and Joe Biden have had completely different careers. Joe Biden was chilling at the crib. You were working as a DA. So we know what you stand for. But like Dan said, you can tell that she can be persuaded on some things more, but she's pretty hardline centrist on a lot of things, dude.
This is Officer Kamala. I mean, that's the point that we've been making. Like, I've been making as a joke, but like, we're serious about this. Is that like, this is not some type of leftist, like, sort of the same kind of thing they're going to try to, everyone on the right is going to try to paint every person on the left as Bernie Sanders or further left. And just as, I mean, if you want to have that fight, you should easily be able to say, okay, well, if Kamala Harris is now all of a sudden Bernie Sanders, then how come you get all uncomfortable and push back when we say that Donald Trump is very similar to the right extremism part of his party, especially when he's telling groups that are part of that right extreme to stand back and stand by in the previous debate. Although Mike Pence somehow fixed his mouth into saying that Donald Trump, his words are being misconstrued when he's talking about white nationalist violence. So that was one of the more ridiculous parts of the entire debate to me.
It's always baffling to me that someone can literally give you direct quotes of what he says, and his rebuttal is words being misconstrued. You don't misunderstand a direct quote. Literally, he on stage was dogging McCain. He literally talked about losers in the army. There's people in the military who are very upset with him. It's a real thing. And his counterpoint is, my son is in and this is in, so, and they like you a lot. Once again, buddy, you're coming at this from a perspective that it's your life, but we're talking about the American people. Like, this is what we've seen. You can't come at Kamala Harris for saying, oh, she doesn't answer those questions. You were dodging questions the whole debate. It was just really funny that the last person on earth to ever try to question her about answering questions was you. Like, you were dipping and dodging the whole debate course.
I'm going to answer a chat question from YouTube. RC says, considering the president currently has the virus 8 months into the global pandemic and Mike Pence is in charge of virus response, did he actually lose as much as he should have? I mean, yeah, that's a good point. We didn't really mention, or like, it wasn't even mentioned by the moderator too much that Mike Pence was put in charge of coronavirus relief. And it looks like the boss upstairs has caught the bug. So, I don't know. Did Pence fumble that? Did Pence take responsibility for that? The larger point that I think could have been more emphasized in this debate that maybe the moderator didn't do out of politeness was the fact that both of these two are a heartbeat away from the presidency, and that heartbeat is very serious. Like, we're not just, this isn't the, oh no, we got to look at Joe Biden as vice president to Barack Obama versus, what was it? Paul Ryan as vice president to Mitt Romney. Like this is the ultimate of the sideliner debates. No, this is like real talk here. Like Joe Biden is not a said and done thing as far as the next 4 years go, and Donald Trump is not a said and done thing as far as the next 4 months go. So Mike Pence and Kamala Harris's abilities as leaders, I think should have been a little bit more on the forefront there than even we saw. I think Kamala Harris made a decent kind of stance for herself, mentioning her record as Attorney General, mentioning her record as a senator, kind of, but mostly on the Judiciary Committee. But I didn't see a lot more. And this is kind of my overall point as far as like my analysis of the debate as far as who won, who lost is I don't think Kamala Harris moved the needle on convincing me in either direction that she's more or less capable of being the president. I think she's like capable of being the president the same way that Barack Obama is capable of being the president, as in like you don't know shit about what you're about to do, but you can be taught because no one else really does. And you'd have a hard enough time doing worse than Donald Trump, so I definitely will at least grant you that. But I don't think this debate was good in the sense that Mike Pence didn't really lose any ground, and maybe there's enough in that debate that can be spun in Kamala Harris's. I mean, it can be spun in Mike Pence's favor, honestly, because some of those responses Kamala Harris did could have looked and could have been perceived as dodges. That's totally fair. But to Kamala Harris's credit, like, it's just a thing that in the sport of debate, in this like pathetic attempt at a system that we still try to convince ourselves that we had, Kamala Harris and Mike Pence are both very, very strong debaters, and they're good at the sport of debate. But as far as voting and understanding what voting is, I didn't learn anything different about either of those candidates than I already knew. That Mike Pence is just going to run defense for some of the worst ghouls in the conservative party as they continue to try to amass power on the backs of white ring extremists. And Kamala Harris is like, not that slightly. Like, I have no problems with the cops who are ingratiated with the white nationalists. I have no problems with the overall economic system that allows the conservatives to continue getting in power. And I'm at least going to be very coy about my plans to potentially act against the system and bring some semblance of balance to the three branches of government. But I'm not the wild Trump person. So, I mean, at least there's that like sort of bare minimum thing going on there. Are there any sort of last thoughts y'all have?
I apologize for wanting to do this. I'm sorry. Dan was.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
I so did not want to do this. This is your fault, Bam.
Yeah, I apologize. Dan was kind of against it. The last thing I'll say is that I'm really glad that Biden and them did not pick Amy Klobuchar.
Yes, of course. That would have been pretty rough. I can at least be happy with that. Kamala Harris is at least more entertaining to watch this debate, because I couldn't have imagined a debate that was worse than this. Pete Buttigieg would have gotten rolled. Amy Klobuchar would have gotten rolled. Beto O'Rourke, Beto, yo soy Beto. No, that wouldn't have been good, dog. I would not have wanted to watch that. That would not have been fun for anyone involved.
I think it was really funny that there was some nerve of Pence to bring up Dr. Fauci. I'm like, you're funny, dude. I thought you guys weren't really riding with him anymore. All of a sudden, you're going to start direct quoting him. Interesting, because like he literally had a day ago quotes complete on the opposite of Trump what he talked about. So you got to start double checking your sources before you come in this debate. But like Dan said, it wasn't like I think Harris didn't win as much as she could, because I think there was two opportunities she could have capitalized if her strategy was to seize today. If her strategy was to seize today, it would have been doing a little bit better job of like addressing some of those things. Like when he said Dr. Fauci, I was like, what? You're going to quote him? And then the second one for me, it's like, when they talked about, Donald Trump's condition, she never really mentioned that, Joe Biden's campaign and them did send out like their best wishes and pause like campaign advertising during the 13 hours, I guess, Trump had coronavirus. Like there was no admission to like, hey, like at least like we respected you enough as a human being at that point. That could have won, I guess, some points in terms of humanity, if that still exists in this country. I don't know yet. But yeah, like it didn't really like feel like either one was. It was like what I came in, what I expected really just came to fruition. I thought Kamala would say some things that I like, and other things where I'm just rolling my eyes, and then Pence, I was just gonna roll my eyes the whole damn time. So like that's really how I felt it was gonna be, and it went that way. And the only highlight was the fly.
Fly, absolutely. Bam, any last words? You're usually full of words, so I'll give you that.
Nah, I'm done.
Complete, done. Well,
never a VP debate again.
I mean, I actually hope America at least has one or two more VP debates left in her. Just more broadly for the whole project, the way that goes, but no more this election cycle for sure.
Please,
that's more than I've heard Mike Pence speak for about I guess 4 years, and that's more than I ever need to hear ever again. Thank you all those watching who are viewing at home for viewing this Power Report episode and listening to this Power Report episode, whether it was live or whether you're listening to the podcast recording, which miraculously we're able to do. Very much appreciate it. Thank you for watching it with these folks here. Hopefully during the next debate, we can get Sean on to do one of these so we can have the Fabulous Four doing it together. Bam, you can find Bam, Free Discussion Society on Instagram, where they are doing Free Discussion Society editions of things. Bam, okay, let me get you up full screen. There we go. We can see your I voted, registered to vote thing. Remember, the general election is on November 3rd. Check your local sort of jurisdictions as far as when exactly you are supposed to vote. Just to make sure about those things. Cesar can be found on, where would you like to be found? On Instagram, Brazil Seas.
You can find me on Brazil Seas on Instagram, Twitter, Brazil Seas, and of course, We Made It Podcast does have a Twitter again. We're back from the trenches. We Made It Podcast on Twitter, and of course, please go vote. Put a mask on and go vote. Like, put a mask on and go vote. If you're uncomfortable with the mail-in, just take your mail-in ballot and drop it off over there at the at your polling booth. Please go vote. Please.
Yes, and I will announce this more clearly, but I'm going to be doing like a little live stream voter guide thing like this tomorrow, actually, where I'm going to just be sitting here. I'm going to fill out my ballot. I'm going to walk through the thought process of me filling out my ballot so people can understand how I think about voting and learn that for yourselves. And, of course, like take questions as to your own things. And I'll even research stuff that you viewers are looking at and that are in your particular area that isn't for me. So I'll look into that and we can learn together. So that'll be cool. That's coming. That'll be more of a Dan from the internet thing, but I'll have some stuff on Power Report to talk about that or in the middle. There's also a new Power Report episode coming this Sunday about how to fight fascism. You should really be enjoying that episode. It should be really good. And you can find me and my co-host Sean on AudioFace at AudioFace Podcast. We have a lot of special episodes coming up with a bunch of new musicians, classic musicians. A lot of that stuff is happening. And before we go, we do have a cast.
You ain't getting your boy on the fascism joint? Okay.
Oh no, I mean, like, that was a pre-recorded interview that apparently Bam does not, as too busy of a schedule to do the pre-recorded interviews, but maybe next time.
Okay. I'm just joking. All right, yo, love you guys.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time Power Report is on. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Vote, motherfuckers. Bye.